Wink, wink.
High Spots and Cheap Pops presents your moment in the Valley. Ladies and gentlemen, it is me. It's SSV Silicon Steve Valley, and we are talking professional wrestling, and we're just going to keep this train moving. The news doesn't stop, and ladies and gentlemen, we are just about 36 hours removed of AEW Dynamite, and a real fun show, but a lot of big news. There were some things production-wise certainly could have been a lot better, but let's get to the big points. Coming out of All Elite Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, the much-anticipated decision of the Switchblade. Jay White, the guy who pretty much was the top heel in New Japan Pro Wrestling since 2018. Absolutely big surprise in AEW. A lot of people thought Jay White was going to be on Monday Night Raw. I was one of them. But that was before the caveat of course, Vince McMahon being back in the fray of creative. So I'm not much of a betting man. But if I was, I would suggest that perhaps Vince McMahon being back in charge of creative, and obviously the inner workings of the business, the professional wrestlers know a hell of a lot more what's going on behind the scenes than a bunch of jerk-offs on the internet. I am of the opinion that it was speculative, and it was speculated heavily that Vince McMahon, we even talked about it on our show, Vince McMahon was going to take over after WrestleMania. We thought we were getting a full-blown Triple H WrestleMania. Then you saw how Night 2 turned out, and then you saw how Monday Night Raw turned out. Jay White isn't the only one to make a decision in favor of Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling. At the end of the night, FTR against the Guns for the AEW Tag Team Championship, and FTR, despite a botch by the referee not counting the pin quick enough, despite that, FTR gets the win. They win the AEW Tag Team Championships, and they are staying in All Elite Wrestling, just like we said. Dax worked us on his podcast. He worked Tony Khan, probably got some more money. But if you listen to Dax Harwood's podcast, you know he was no fan of Vince McMahon. He was no fan of the way Vince McMahon talked to talent. He was no fan of Vince McMahon's version and view of professional wrestling. So I can guarantee Vince McMahon being back in the fray is a big reason for FTR not showing up. But the good news is FTR is your new tag team champs. They beat the Guns, staying in AEW Championship for the third time they will face each other. That's what you're hoping for, but that's not the only big news. Yes, FTR staying in AEW. Jay White coming into AEW, siding with Juice Robinson and putting up the gun sign signifying that the Bullet Club is going to be in All Elite Wrestling. Another interview attempted by Renee Paquette, catching the Switchblade Jay White. She asked what his business was in AEW, but most importantly, she asked if he was still the leader of the Bullet Club. Jay White told her to give him a second, and then he just closed the door, and then that was the end of the interview. So we're going to hear from Jay White probably next week. But that's big news. FTR, the greatest tag team on the planet, or at least one of them, they're staying in AEW as well. So those are big gets for All Elite Wrestling, signifying that maybe Tony Khan has done some things and said some things to get people to believe in AEW again. That, or people really don't want to work for 78-year-old Vince McMahon. Probably that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't just have that. We had the announcement that All Elite Wrestling will make their long-awaited debut in the United Kingdom. And All Elite Wrestling is very popular in the United Kingdom. And I think this is a bit ambitious, but they announced in London, England at Wembley Stadium, yeah, Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith for the Intercontinental Championship. That one. AEW will have their late summer pay-per-view. It was all out up until recently. Tony Khan comes out, and he even brings up Cody Rhodes, but he talks about Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page, and basically members of the Elite starting the largest independent professional wrestling show of all time. Of course, that was All In, really the genesis or the preamble to what All Elite Wrestling became. Well, they're bringing All In back. I don't know why they didn't do it last year, but they're doing it this year. All In will now hopefully be called the pay-per-view in the fall, just like the original one was in 2018. But All In will be taking place at Wembley Stadium, 90,000 people. Does All Elite Wrestling have the stroke to fill that stadium? That's the question. I am very skeptical of that. I really, really am. But we'll see. Tickets are going to go on sale shortly, and we're going to find out if AEW can pack 90,000 people in a stadium. If they do that, that would be a win and a milestone that is beyond repair. Even if they come close, can they pull 80,000? Can they pull 70,000? Hey, I don't think they've ever pulled more than 25. So this is going to be a monster undertaking, and really hoping that AEW has a lot of success selling out that building. It would be absolutely incredible. But those are 3 monster pieces of news. Perhaps they could have been done better, because the Jay White intro, you get a wide shot of him, but that's it. And then you put all the work on Ricky Starks and Juice Robinson feuding. First of all, why are they starting their physicality right as Jay White is entering the arena? Why are they starting the physicality as Jay White's making his entrance? Makes no sense. And why isn't there a camera where Jay White came out, so everyone at home could see who everyone is so excited to see? We don't see Jay White or get a good look at him until after he's already running in the ring and beating somebody up. And it also took away from that moment, and also I think took away from the pop the crowd gave him, because he got a huge pop initially, but then it was quickly taken away. I think they could have let that moment breathe a little bit, and they do that a lot, AEW. You really do. But I'm not going to be mad, because my favorite New Japan Pro wrestler just signed with All Elite Wrestling. I'm pumped up for that, because I definitely would not want Jay White heading anywhere close to a Vince McMahon-controlled WWE creative. So 3 monster pieces of news of AEW, and for the first time in a very, very, very long time, probably since last summer, AEW has the positive momentum and WWE has the shitty momentum. It was going the exact opposite since September, starting with Brawl Out and starting with the first pay-per-view that Triple H had a full month build. Let's not forget, that's 6 months ago. Look how much has changed in 6 months. Sorry, 7 months for you semantical Sams out there. Where All Elite Wrestling was after Brawl Out, and where WWE was. Shit, where WWE was a week ago. And where they are now in terms of what the fans think. And what the fans think about AEW, all of a sudden, there's a lot of positive things happening in All Elite Wrestling. If CM Punk comes back or not could be completely irrelevant. Also, the Blackpool Combat Club. You kind of understand why they're attacking who they are, why they're going after the people they're going after, and why they're being basically dicks and beating the crap out of everybody. And I didn't think it was a really well put together promo, but I loved what he said. Bryan Danielson goes out and he says that they're the only professional wrestlers in All Elite Wrestling, essentially. And he said after what he saw this past week, they're the only professional wrestlers in America, which is a slight little jab at WWE there. But they continue to say that everybody's an amateur in AEW, and of course Hangman Adam Page, always down for a fight, goes in and tries to attack all of the Blackpool Combat Club. Hangman, you are a dumb babyface. Jesus Christ. So they beat the crap out of Hangman, and Danielson starts saying, amateur, amateur, and he just kept on saying amateur like over and over, kind of like when he did Fickle, or yes or no, or whatever the flavor it is. And he did one of those classic Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan moments where he just repeats the same word over and over again. It was a really fun promo. I'm actually 100%. He threw some shade at the executive vice president, of course, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Threw some shade at the rest of the locker room in general. Says that he loves the Blackpool Combat Club members. And the Blackpool Combat Club all of a sudden have a mission statement, and you're understanding why they're doing what they're doing, and it's becoming interesting, and they're feuding with the Elite. This is going to be good, and I'm really excited that you have all of these entities working in a good direction in terms of a storyline. So good job, AEW! AEW! This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Thank you for watching, and please hit the subscribe button on High Spots and Cheap Pots.